How to get paid by Section 8 tenants. That's the topic for today's episode. And without further ado, let's dive in. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode. For those who are tuning in for the first time, this is your channel for real estate education. So this is the second video of a mini series, quote unquote, about Section 8. So last time I talked about the concept of Section 8 and what does it entail, the key players. And in today's episode, the second video, we are going to talk about how you can actually qualify to get paid. So before we even dive into the nitty-gritty about how to get paid, let's take a step back and talk about Section 8 tenants itself. So unfortunately, Section 8 tenants have gained a negative image, a negative connotation over time for being management intensive, but I'm here to tell you that that is not entirely accurate. There is, in fact, a lot that goes into the qualification process, and the only one who has control about that qualification process, it's you. You can have a horrible tenant in a very nice high-rise, a luxurious condo, and you can also have a nice tenant in one of those properties. Same thing goes with Section 8, right? You can have a nice family, someone who's going to take a nice, good care of your property because that person, that family values being in a nice and safe house. And that's in essence what you have to do. It is part of your responsibility to vet those tenants right from the get-go so that you can avoid all of those headaches. And in the event that you don't know how to do that, I created an episode a couple of months ago that talks about how to actually qualify great tenants for your investment property, for any kinds of investment properties, down here below. So make sure you check the description. If anything, I think I'm going to add them to the playlist so that you can watch the entire mini series all in one shot. So pay close attention to the playlist list down below. So now, how do you get paid by Section 8 tenants? So there's two things that you need to pay attention to. So you have the Section 8 tenant right here, right? And the way it gets paid is that Section 8 is going to cover one portion of it, right? And you and the tenant, right, is going to cover the other portion of it. So again, you have the tenant itself. Section 8 is going to pay portion of the rent, and then the tenant is going to pay portion of the rent. How you decide to collect the money from the tenant, that will be entirely up to you. That's something that you're going to have to bill as part of the provision and the lease agreement, whether it's by check, a direct deposit, you decide that. But then when it comes to the portion of the rent that you get from Section 8, then that becomes a little bit more extensive. And there are a couple of things that you're going to have to follow or abide in order to make things happen. So because that list, it's a little bit extensive, why don't you click like and the button down below while I write the list right here. And I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. All right, so thank you for hitting the like button down below. It's gonna definitely help this channel a lot by ranking it and also making this information available to other subscribers, other people out there who are actually looking for information regarding real estate investment. So I have the list right here. And remember, each state, each municipality, each area, the requirements are gonna vary. But for the most part, the first 6 items that you see here are gonna be quote unquote mandatory. And then there are other requirements that are actually part of the requisites that each local agency is going to ask for. So the local agency is the PHA, Public Housing Agency. So first things first, you're going to have to submit your landlord information form to the PHA, who is the administering agency who's going to process all the payments, all the applications, all of the information that goes back and forth between the tenant and the landlord, right? So you have to submit that form. It basically has your information, who you are, the property. Then it's going to be the housing assistance payment contact form, which is kind of like the form that you fill up so that way you can get paid. You can provide information about where that payment should be going and stuff like that. How much is it that you expect to receive? How much is it the total rent versus the amount of the voucher that was approved for the tenant? And then of course, you're gonna have to submit a copy of the lease, right? Your lease, how long was the lease for with all of the terms. And then the next thing you're gonna submit is the HUD lease addendum. And for those who don't know what HUD means, it basically means Housing and Urban Development. So the addendum just basically has additional terms and conditions that everyone needs to abide by, the tenant and yourself as a landlord. So you need to make sure that these two are actually submitted as well. So these two were going to make up the total package for the lease. Then the next thing, you're going to need to submit your W-9 so you can actually get paid. And then the next one that you need to submit will be the tenancy approval form to make sure that one, the tenant is actually approved to receive Section 8, and also that your house is actually approved for, so you can start renting it out to those who qualify for Section 8 assistance. And again, just check with your local PHA to make sure what that other requirement might be, because again, it varies by state. And remember, Section 8 tenants are no different in terms of what you collect and rent. It's pretty much the same as if you were renting a regular rental apartment. The only thing that varies is the form of payment, right? You will have to continue to vet the tenants thoroughly, carefully, even if you didn't have Section 8 student, because you are given housing to a family, to someone. So you have to make sure that you guys are a right fit for each other. So another thing that you have to take into consideration is any type of discriminatory behavior. Some people are discriminatory in nature, but there are other landlords who are discriminatory unconsciously. It's just simply unconscious bias. And unconscious bias means that you feel a certain type of emotion, a certain type of belief towards certain groups by either sex orientation, gender, religion, and you have to make sure that you are respectful of those, that you have to abide by those. And if you're not entirely sure, I'm going to leave a link down below here so you can actually take those factors into consideration while you are vetting your tenants, just to make sure that you avoid any headaches down the road. But again, Section 8 tenants shouldn't be any different than any other type of regular tenants. The only main difference that I will say you can see here or expect to see here is the form of payment. Rather than getting all the rent from one tenant specific, now you're getting a portion of it from the government, from the federal funding, from federal taxes into your pocket, so you can continue to provide housing for that family of low income, whether it's the elderly or just simply families that have someone with disability in there. So I want to hear what your thoughts are. Just let me know, what is it that you think about this content, this video? Do you find it helpful? Is there anything else that you would like to add to this series? And again, this is only the second episode. Expect to see more down the road. And that's it. That's all I have for today. And again, thank you so much for giving the like to this video down here. And until then, I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.